Namaskar and welcome to NFL Masala. I'm your co-host Anant.
And I'm your other co-host, Ruck. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 15 of NFL Masala, where we talk about all the latest happenings in the NFL with a little bit of spice and an addition of Where is My Liquor?
I have a feeling we're gonna have a massive Rakshak rant coming on after
I think
the
it'll be a
debacle of
debut.
Monday Night Football.
I think it may be the debut of a Ruck rant, so let's get to it.
Alrighty. So today we are going to be discussing what happened in week 2 and previewing what happens in week 3 because as we all know, we know what's going to happen in week 3. Whatever we say is the law. We are your fortune tellers. All right. So before we do that, let's break off some Dhamakadar news. Starting with this fact. The Carolina Panthers are already benching Bryce Young 2 games into the season after he has had to adjust to a new quarterback coach, a new offensive coordinator, a new head coach, completely new offensive line. After having 16, 17 games of some of the worst support system you could ever ask for, he is now going to be benched in favor of Andy Dalton. And in my opinion, he should have never started.
Yeah.
It should have been Andy Dalton. Bryce Young does not look like the quarterback who was in Alabama, who led them to, I believe, a championship. Either not a championship or to the playoffs. He is not that quarterback anymore. They have to figure out a way to get him back to that level where his rhythm, where he succeeded on his rhythm and timing and his accuracy. And he just, if you watch the tape, he looks like a deer in headlights. He often throws to double coverage, like double covered receivers. Like he stares receivers down and he's like, I'm going to target you and I'm going to target you. And he does that. He misses clearly open wide receivers when they are open. And when they're not open, he has to throw the ball away, which he doesn't. It often ends in turnovers. So it has not looked good. And the entire experiment with Dave Canales so far has not looked good. They are so far behind in terms of their explosiveness and their actual offensive play. I think if you look at so I'm going to show a chart describing offensive EPA per play, I believe. Yeah. EPA per play. And no, where it is. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? Oh, it's not here. Okay. Anyways, they're dead last. They are dead last in EPA per play. It's not an explosive offense. It's not a sustaining offense. Their offensive line is not doing a good job. They've given up like more than 40% pressure rate. It's not good. Even though ESPN will rank Carolina Panthers' offensive line as 5th in the entire league in terms of pass block win rate, I just don't see that on film. Yeah. And I see a lot of Bryce Young making mistakes and making hesitation, not throwing the ball with anticipation either. So, yeah, it sucks, but it is what it is. I think he shouldn't have even started. So, at least they're letting him, develop on the bench, learn the system first, and then have some playing experience, which is exactly what Tom Brady had said.
Yeah.
Right? He had said a long time ago that these quarterbacks are not in pro style programs and they're just on as good college teams. So yeah. Alrighty, what's next?
Well, with that being said, we do have to talk about some the thing that we don't like talking about, which is injuries.
Mhm.
Um, uh, I think and this has to go with the Los Angeles Rams. Rams wide receiver Cooper Cup. It will be, and this is according to Sarah Barshop of ESPN. Cooper Cup will be missing an extended period of time with a left ankle sprain, so most likely he's going to be on IR. He left the Rams 41-10 loss to the Cardinals with that injury. Um, and and along with guards Jonah Jackson and John Johnson, they're both candidates for IR. And apparently it's just like they're I think they're about to build a lineup of
Of
of,
only
I,
rookies.
of IRs, man. I honestly
Yeah.
think they may have to go with full rookies. And
Yeah.
I mean, it's a very bad situation, but and they were already without Puka Nakua, so you were basically have to go with Demarcus Robinson, Tyler Johnson, Tutu Atwell, and Jordan Whittington from.
UT. Hook 'em.
So, quick update, like just give me a quick rundown on who Jordan Whittington is.
So he's like a slot receiver
Mm-hmm.
primarily.
Yep.
He's got the size and frame for that. He's not typically your X receiver. That was mostly Xavier Worthy in that offense last year or 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah.
Is Jordan Whittington this year rookie?
He is a 6th-round pick,
Yeah.
rookie.
So yeah. Yeah, last year he was primarily a slot receiver, so that's mostly about him.
Yeah, not looking good.
Mm-hmm.
What's next?
Alrighty. So up next, another injury, and this time it's a very sad one because I mean all injuries are sad. We're not going to be those type of people who welcome injuries on players, but this one is even more gut wrenching because it's happened to Tua Tagovailoa, and it's his third major concussion that happened during this game, and apparently they are not going to place Tua on IR, even though he should probably retire and not play football anymore
Oh,
because his
with that,
brain's health is working.
we actually have some breaking the Makidar news on that.
Okay.
So it was at 4:10 p.m.
Uh-huh.
They placed Tua on injured reserve,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I think it's like and with that, of course, he's going to be put on IR he has to be out for 4 games, but I think it's going to be. I think they're changing it to the fact that until the doctors think he's ready to play, he'll be on
Okay.
IR. So it'll be for an extended amount of time. Correct me
Okay.
on that.
Okay. So that is good. That is good. They are placing him on IR. So that is good. And because they're placing him on IR, the Dolphins are now going to sign Tyler Huntley, who is, who was the backup to Lamar Jackson and got that Pro Bowl selection last year, I believe, either last year or the year before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a good signing for the Dolphins because he's capable of at least managing the game properly, if not being explosive. As long as he doesn't turn over the ball, the Dolphins should be fine, but I don't expect the Dolphins to make the playoffs or be a playoff contender, in the playoffs. Like it's disastrous, man. Yeah, there's not much that we can say more about this situation unless we hear from Tua and his team about what they're going to do for the foreseeable future. Obviously, you have to take into account his contract and the role that he plays in that offense with his ability to get the ball out quickly. I mean, they have I think they have the fastest time to throw.
Yeah.
In all amongst all offenses. So yeah, it is sad. We'll see what happens.
Right. And I want to say this, like, as much as we all want to see Tua get well, his health needs to be a biggest priority. And if he chooses to retire and he still wants to be connected with the game, I think he should take up a role as like an offensive assistant. learn from the sidelines and help your team win whatsoever. Like hell, he could be one of the best. He could be an offensive guru if he gets the exposure and the training and all that. I mean, if he's able to like develop that side skill while recovering, and he's 100 times better than he is at a QB, go ahead. You're still
Right.
being involved in the game that you love, and you're making a difference from elsewhere. You don't need to be on the field just to win games. You could be the brains behind it.
Right,
Just my
right. But
thought.
I don't know if he even wants to do that. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think he still wants to play. So we'll
Right.
have to see.
Yeah. It's and then last but not least, this comes with the Kansas City Chiefs. It is reported according to Adam Tacher, ESPN staff writer, Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco is expected to miss approximately 6 to 8 weeks after suffering a fibula injury during
Ooh.
Sunday's game against the Cincinnati Bengals. He will be placed on IR. However, the Chiefs are bringing back Kareem Hunt, their former running back, to Kansas City for a Tuesday visit. Most likely, he'll be signing with the team. Pacheco, he did rush for 90 yards and 19 carries and caught 5 passes for 21 yards. 2 games, he's rushed for 135 yards, touchdown, while averaging 4 yards per carry. They also have Carson Steele and Samaje Perine at running back as well. So, and of course, on week 5, Clyde Edwards-Helaire will be available. So it's basically fill in your
running
spot,
back by committee.
running back by committee, and watch Patrick Mahomes win the game. So
Yeah.
either way, America loses.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously Isaiah Pacheco going down for an extended amount of time. It sucks to see that because he's such a key cog in their offense, especially with the way that he runs. It's hard for other running backs to replicate his success. I think he's like top 5 or top 10 in terms of rushing yards over expected, or he was last year. And it's hard to replicate that type of a success, even if you plug in another running back who happens to know your offense as well in terms of Kareem Hunt back into this into this offense. So yeah, we'll see how successful the Chiefs are. It's the Chiefs. They'll find ways. It's Mahomes, it's Andy Reid. They will find a way to eke out victories. They may not look like the best team in the league, best offense in the league, but it doesn't matter. They're going to get to the playoffs. They're going to win their division. They're going to be playoff contenders. They're going to be Super Bowl contenders. They're just inevitable. Okay. We don't really have to worry about, whether or not Kareem Hunt is their lead running back or Carson Steele. They're going to make anybody work. So, yeah. But it is unfortunate for Isaiah Pacheco. I really liked his running style. He looked like, a bullet out of a gun. Like, that's how he runs. Or actually, no, that's not a good explanation. He runs like the vision of what you think an angry man should run like. That's how he runs. He runs with such vigor and ferocity for such not a small dude, but not a big dude like Derrick Henry. Yeah, it is unfortunate. Alrighty, so that's going to be it for the Dhamakadar news segment. And now we're going to move on to the week 2 recap, starting with those Packers, man. Those Packers. What did I say about our game plan? We did exactly what we needed to do and exactly what I said we needed to do to close out this victory. Run the football and force turnovers on the defense. And this is exactly what happened. Run the football. We did. 237 yards at halftime. That is the 3rd most since 2000 in any half of any NFL game. We were on pace to break the record. Unfortunately, we couldn't because we ended up with 261 yards at the end of the game with 51 carries. But 261 yards at 51 carries. I need to give a special shout out to someone. Hey, Gus Bradley, do you know how to defend the run? Do you know that that's a concept that you have to learn as a defensive coordinator to defend the run? Apparently not. Giving up 261 yards, 51 carries. That's insane. That makes us, I believe, the third most or fifth most in terms of rushing yards per game now on the season, which is just 2 games, but still, who cares? We're really good at running the football, and a lot of that credit goes to Matt LaFleur. I mean, just the way that he weaves magic in terms of designing a mix of run schemes, primarily with 12 personnel, but he mixes outside zone, pin and pull, duo, and that's primarily what we used in this game. But he mixes so many different types of schemes. You saw another jet sweep motion with or end around with Bo Melton, I believe. That also got like 20 yards. You saw another one with Jaden Reed who got like 30 yards on his rush. It's just fantastic to see Matt LaFleur go in his bag and pull off a masterclass in designing an offense with limited key players. I'll say that. The main player, the main like top 10 player that we have on our offense is Josh Jacobs. And he was really good, but credit to Matt LaFleur. Okay. There's a reason why he's a top 5 offensive coordinator in the league, top 5 head coach in the league. Nick Sirianni couldn't lick his feet. All right. He's not even close. Okay. Matt LaFleur is awesome. And to all the Packers fans and to all the fans out there who still doubt that man, go touch some grass. All right. You need to. Anyways, Josh Jacobs, I want to give you a special apology because I criticized your lack of juking ability and the fact that you're just a power back. But man, if you watch the film and if you watch the game, he put people into the shadow realm. All right. The way he juked out 2 of like the Colts defensive ends, especially Kwity Paye, when running an off tackle run is fantastic. He is now the second running back. Second running back in terms of rushing yards over expected at 62 yards over expected. Josh Jacobs is also third in terms or second in terms of all rushing yards with J.K. Dobbins leading the way at 266. But Josh Jacobs single-handedly has gained so many yards that is outside of what Matt LaFleur and other running backs can produce. I apologize to you, Josh Jacobs. You are more than a power back. You are a top 10, top 5 running back in the league, and you've proven it. And the advantage of having such a successful game on the running standpoint is that it led to Malik Willis being the perfect game manager. Okay. He has taken the art of game managing to perfection in this game. 12 of 14, 122 yards, 1 touchdown, and a plus 13.2% completion percentage over expected, which means he was accurate as heck. He was one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the league this past week. And that credit goes to Tom Clements. All right. He is the quarterback whisperer. It ain't your Eagles. It ain't anybody else. It's Tom Clements. Okay. He's the best quarterbacks coach in the league. And this specifically proves why. The way that Malik Willis was able to move in the pocket to evade pressure, the way that he stayed calm, he checked his options, and he kept the ball safe. That's exactly what you teach a backup quarterback, especially one who had such a high degree of turnover worthy plays in Malik Willis, right? Last year when he was with the Titans, he was ridiculed. He couldn't throw well. He couldn't throw accurately. He had an arm, but it was so inaccurate, right? He was terrible decision maker. That was all solved this week because of that man, Tom Clements. So I got to give a special shout out to that. And the offense was basically perfect. Basically perfect. Yeah, there were some bad play calling decisions by Matt LaFleur, but that happens every game. We still scored 16 points. There was a missed field goal that should have been 19 points, but still, really, really good performance from the offensive side. And the defense, man, they came to play. 3 interceptions, 3 forced fumbles. Unfortunately, none of them were recovered, but 6 potential turnovers, 3 of them actual turnovers, 1 sack, and 50% completion percentage. This scheme from Jeff Hafley, oh God, so good. It confused the heck out of AR-15 into making some disastrous throws. They played a lot of 2 high coverage, but he was beautifully disguised with single high and then rotating that coverage, right? And it confused the heck out of AR-15. And now the Packers lead the league in terms of interceptions, second in turnover differential, and fourth, and I think this is the most important part, fourth in opponent third down conversion percentage at 26.09%. That means opponents are only converting 1 out of every 4 third down, which means that a lot of the times they are punting or scoring field goals. And that means the offense can get more opportunities to score. This is exactly what was wrong with Joe Barry's defense last year. They had such a high, I think they were like league high in terms of opponent third down conversion percentage, converting like 50% of the time or something like that. And now we're 4th in the league. That's exactly what we needed from Jeff Hafley, and he's producing that. Yeah, the pass rush is not up to par or of what we expected. Rashawn Gary has been pretty much silent. Kenny Clark has been pretty much silent. Lucas Van Ness has been the only one who's probably been, and Devontae White, credit to him. He's also got some really good pressures from up the middle. Those two have been like the only ones who have actually performed consistently in these past 2 weeks. We haven't seen anything from Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, and Preston Smith, and that should change as we go throughout the season. But at least we are causing turnovers. We are getting this team, getting the opponents off the field on third down and giving our offense opportunities, which is exactly what we need. This is exactly what Jordan Love needs. This is exactly what Aaron Rodgers needed, but we didn't have Jeff Hafley last year. We had dumbass Joe Barry. So, yeah, this is exactly what I wanted from the Packers, and this, as I said before, it solidifies Coach LaFleur as a top 5 coach, head coach, and offensive designer in the league. Perfect game.
Yeah. I honestly think that when I did watch a little bit of the highlights, especially with Packers and the Colts, I was upset about one thing. I have one bit of criticism for the Packers.
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they break the record?
I know. They
should have literally broke the record.
The Colts actually, credit to Gus Bradley, in the second half, they held us to just 30 yards of rushing. So they actually made the changes. They recognized that we were running a lot of like outside zone and running like off tackle run plays. So they picked it up. They had their edge setters actually setting the edge and tackling our running back. So
So,
them in the second.
what do you need to do next time? Get it in the first half.
Exactly. Score, get 250 rushing yards in the first half. Just keep doing that in the first.
Just keep on running the ball, honestly.
Exactly.
Yeah. And now we got to talk about it. And officially, welcome to the debut of what we like to call the Ruckchuck rant.
So
Anna,
you want to
tell us
talk about it?
Anna, tell our first time guests what the Ruckchuck rant is all about.
So to those who are listening to this show for the first time, congratulations. You are now listening or watching. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, like, share, subscribe. You will be watching or listening one of the best segments on any talk show, podcast in the history of the internet. It is a massive opportunity to listen to Rakshak gripe and moan and complain about any topic that he has an extreme passion for. And that's exactly what a Rakshak rant is. And we are all honored to listen to it. So please go ahead.
Well, first, let me get some water because I have a lot to say. So, about Monday night,
Home opener.
We are celebrating Nick Foles' retirement as an Eagle. By the way, congratulations for being one of the, I believe, one of the greatest Eagles of all time, along with Reggie White, Harold Carmichael, Chuck Bednarik. I could list the legends on and on.
Reggie White ain't an Eagle.
Wait, listen. It's my segment now, not you.
Got it.
Go ahead. So of course, I will say this as always, for being a backup QB to beat one of the greatest dynasties of all time with a trick play at the Super Bowl. But Eagles, the final score, Eagles 21, Falcons 22. Is it 2023 already? Because I am literally saying the same goddamn thing that costed us this game. Let's start with the offense. What is consistency? Anand, can you find the word consistency on the dictionary? Can you please define it to me?
I can.
What is consistency?
Basically, having the ability to do the same thing successfully over and over again. Something that Nick Sirianni has to learn.
I mean, what in the blue hell is this inconsistency of an offense? I mean, from the immediate get-go, I see so many penalties on illegal formation. Cam Jurgens, I get it. This is your second game as a center. Get your shit together, man, because we need it. You're filling up big shoes. I understand, but I mean, if you want to talk about inconsistency, I want to go through a couple of drives. The second offensive drive by the Eagles, they're running the ball. Saquon Barkley is getting some yardages. And one thing that really impressed me was Jalen Hurts' ability to use his legs.
Mm-hmm.
That was a strong performance by Hurts. I believe he had 85 rushing yards, 13 carries, and he got the first downs when he needed to. And then we go on this. First and 10, Atlanta 15. Gainwell up the middle, 4 yards. Second and 6. Gainwell up the yard for two. So you go for 2 yards. Third and 4. What can you do on a third and 4? Do you A, run the ball, or B, try and make a pass?
You could do either, but you got to be successful at them.
I would have gone with A, run the ball. You keep on running that clock, even if it's late in the second half after you're forcing Atlanta to kick field goals.
Mm-hmm.
Surprisingly.
Mm-hmm.
And why are you throwing it to Johnny Wilson? I understand that AJ Brown was inactive with a hamstring injury, but you're depending on a rookie, a big 6'6" rookie to make this kind of play. I don't get that. You know that he's gonna get that Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons has their eyes on it. I would have just ran it straight and make it a 4th and manageable, push it all the way. By the way, the push is now back in order. And then 4th and 4. Take the points. You got to take the points in this part. It would have been 3-0, and they would have been talking about something else. And why was and my other point? Why wasn't Dallas Goedert targeted a lot during this game? And of course you signed Jahan Dotson. You traded for Jahan Dotson. I only saw him get targeted once. 1 yard. I'm seeing 1 target, 1 reception, 6 yards, and I'm seeing him go motion. I love seeing motion, but it has to be effective. I rarely saw Goddard get targeted until the late in the second half. It makes no sense. If we're so ingrained in that, why the hell are you not going 21 personnel? Why? And I mean, I really like, and then of course, once the stupid punts and what I really liked was the long drives, taking 11 plays, 6 minutes, 7 minutes, 9-minute touchdown drives that lead to touchdowns. And when I saw the ability of Hurts using his legs, giving the ball to freaking Saquon Barkley, who I thought you should run him more. He had 95 rushing yards, 22 receptions, 22 carries, and he had over 100 yards of scrimmage. That is what I really liked. But and of course, the biggest wide receiver star for me, Devontae Smith. He was outstanding. Crucial catches, coming back. I mean, I love his route running. I love his ability to send people to the shadow realm. He was juking people out of nowhere. Hot damn. 10 targets, 7 receptions, 76 yards, and a touchdown. Really like that play. I was surprised to see Grant Calcaterra get some opening in the first drive. Shout out to the guy from SMU, by the way. And Brent Covey. I didn't expect Brent Covey of all people to get targets. I thought it would be Jahan Dotson.
Another Nick Sirianni masterclass.
And now we got to talk about the third quarter. So we're driving. Now let's break through this play. 1st and 10. Saquon Barkley runs for 4 yards. Easy. 2nd and 6. Jalen Hurts pass to Britton Covey out for 3 yards. And now 3rd and 3 at the Atlanta 6. I would have gone for a run option, and then the Jalen Hurts pass to Devontae Smith. This is a catch Devontae Smith usually makes, but it was well defended. And I don't know if I should say this, but I actually didn't have a problem with that play. If had Smith caught that ball, got it close enough, I would have tried and ran the ball, but that play was a little bit tight. What was your thought on that play? On that 3rd down, pass to Smith, which was was incomplete in that one.
I wanted to get. Fortunately, didn't watch it that closely. I was busy. But yeah, it's unfortunate, man. You guys had so many opportunities.
And then 4th and 3. Why'd you take a delay of game penalty? You could have easily ran the ball for that. Try to at least run a ball with Saquon Barkley, at least to get some of those points. But then, of course, you got to take the points, which it didn't do the second drive of the game. And then, of course, Atlanta, and then the next touchdown play by the Eagles. You go 17. I thought was one of the best drives I've seen. 17 plays, 70 yards, 9 minutes and 34 seconds. That was the Jalen Hurts I know I saw. I loved watching that guy play. He, I believe he on one of those deep 3rd and 6s or or like a 3rd and 2, Jalen Hurts fakes the handoff up the middle, 12 yards, powering through 3 or 4 Atlanta defenders. And I thought he did, and yes, of course he took a sack during the game, but I thought he did pretty well against the blitz so far, rolling out and going through his progressions. That's the difference I saw. And I mean, like, and I'll get to the ending of that, but I thought like, again, 23 for 30, 183 yards, 6 yards for 6 yards average, 1 touchdown, 1 sack, and then of course the 1 interception. We will talk about that. But the final drive, 3rd and 3, clock running down. Atlanta has no timeouts left. Why the hell do you throw the ball? You literally become the Seattle Seahawks in that Super Bowl. Instead of giving it to your best running back, you throw it. And I mean, Saquon, if you caught that, I would have been okay with that, and it would have been an easy first down. I wouldn't have complained. Just kneel, and say, like, what the hell are we doing? But I'm happy with the win anyway and escape. But instead, you pass it right to Saquon.
Did you see how Nick Sirianni threw Jalen Hurts under the bus in the press conference? He basically said that there was an option where you could have taken the knee or you could have rushed around and kicked the field goal and walked out of with the victory.
That's all. Okay, I have to say
Nick
this.
Sirianni.
Nick Sirianni and
Legend.
I mean, Kellen Moore was a bit inconsistent. I'll tell him that. But Nick
Best
Sirianni,
coach in the league.
What the hell is he doing? What is Nick? I mean, Abhishek has it right. What the hell is Nick Sirianni doing as a coach? He's literally, a part of my French, everyone, a fucking cheerleader.
He's Big Dom's assistant. That's what he is.
Honestly, I would think so too. I don't know what his role is in this play calling. And I mean, I get the delay up game, like delaying that penalty and going for it. That was smart. But why the hell are you going on that third down play? Run the damn ball. Hell, on 4th down, I would have ran that. I would have ran it and given it a little bit, give it a try. At least make that gamble. Show some cojones, damn it.
Mm-hmm.
And you settle for the field goal, and then I have to talk about the last drive. The 34 seconds left. You didn't need to force it deep. You just need 10, 15 yards. But then again, the pressure hits him. Jalen Hurts had to make a decision. Jesse Bates is an opportunist. He had 12 tackles in the game. Defensive MVP overall. I thought he played a really good game. And now leads me to the most infuriating part whatsoever. What the F is a defense? What the hell is defense? This had to be one of the worst performances by a defensive coordinator, like in Vic Fangio of all people. He brought no pressure. You stick into a 2 safety zone the entire time. Am I saying Matt Patricia reincarnated? Honestly. You literally allowed...
It's Joe Barry. Vic Fangio channeled his inner Joe Barry.
I mean, it was so bad. I mean, you allowed... I mean, when I made my like the more details episode for the Falcons Eagles game on what they really need to watch out for, like that middle of the field coverage and those inner and the slot ports, man, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, Drake London, I mean, Kyle Pitts to some degree, and of course we couldn't effing stop Bijan Robinson and the run. I was surprised he didn't go for another. They didn't go for some couple of yards. And yes, that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson hit to force that turnover and downs when the Eagles made that disastrous play calling to take that field goal instead of on that 3rd and 3 on that choke job. I mean, it was bad. The only defensive back that played actually really well was Quinyon Mitchell. Quinyon Mitchell only
rookie.
The rookie beat you, Darius Slay. He was targeted 5 times, allowed 5 catches for 48 yards and a touchdown.
Darius Slay is burnt toast.
Quinyon Mitchell, you know what he did? He was targeted 4 times, allowed 2 catches for 31 yards. Yes, there was a bit of some blown coverage, but you know what? It's a rookie problem. Rookie growing pains, but he balled out. 56.3 passer rating when targeted. He is definitely our future lockdown. That is what I was really happy about. But the Eagles defense through 2 games, tied 32nd in yards per play, 29th in EPA per play, 27th in sack rate, 23rd in QB pressure. The Philly edge rusher hasn't recorded a sack in 6 games going back to last year. What the hell? Melvin Williams got a freebie sack, and you allowed Kirk effing Coupons to march through the field without getting pressured. He carved that zone defense and threw that game-winning touchdown to Drake London. And shut the F up, Darius Lee. Sit your ass down. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson missed some tackles. What the hell? And you want to know something crazy? Kirk Cousins had, in the second half stats, according to 33rd Team on Twitter, 166 passing yards, 10.4 yards per attempt, 2 passing touchdowns, 148.5 passer rating, EPA per dropback, 0.66, explosive play, 18%. Am I going insane? I'm saying this is the.
Vic Fangio went insane.
Have I seen this script before? And Bryce Huff.
Where is he?
Where the hell was he? I honestly want Hassan Reddick back. And Nolan Smith, I didn't even see him. Jalen Carter.
Did you see? He got chipped into the shadow realm by Bijan Robinson.
Bryce Huff was
had to
by a
sit
tight
his
end.
ass down by Bijan Robinson.
I need freaking Hassan Reddick back, man. Brandon Graham outplayed them all. This was an entire embarrassment that Fletcher Cox had to call them and ask him, what the hell are you doing? This, I mean, I'm going to quote this from this YouTube show that I listen to called Awful Coaching. This Eagles defense is the reason why we all live in North Korea. This is North Korean type of defense. And Nick Sirianni should be sent to a gulag for allowing these types of offensive play calling, man. I don't know who the hell is in charge. And you know what else I heard from Fort John? But on the sidelines, Howie Roseman was watching this the entire time. He was on the sidelines watching Nick Sirianni. Nick Sirianni's
next call is going to be to Bill Belichick.
I wouldn't mind Bill Belichick coming over and putting in some goddamn discipline. If it allows us to win some games, so be it.
What if he brings back Matt Patricia?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And Joe Judge.
I don't want that. I'd rather have no. I do not want to see that. This was hell. The Eagles could have won that game, but by 3 words. You blew it. You blew it.
And to agonize you even more in that way of why they blew it, the Falcons, according to Next Gen Stats, had a 0.7% chance of winning with 1:56 left in the fourth quarter. 0.7% chance.
It went down, whoop.
Literally. This comeback is the 7th most improbable win since 2016. Good job.
It was a frustrating game overall. Had the Eagles won that game, I would have still been frustrated, but I would have been happy with the win and giving it to Saquon. Because apparently we did that against the Packers, but somehow we didn't do that against the effing Falcons.
I'm happy to see. I'm happy to see this side of Rakshak.
Yeah, everyone wants to see it now. And apparently, and with that being said, I am placing the Rakshak curse on the Atlanta Falcons. They're not going to make it further. They're not even going to go to the effing wild card, damn it. Mark it.
They might not with the way that the Saints are playing and
Please,
the
by
Bucks
all
are
means,
playing.
the Saints and the
Yeah.
Bucks. I will gladly eat that.
Alrighty. So that concludes our games of the week. Now we're going to talk about the Masala games of week 2, starting with my game. And I seem to have caught the Rakshak curse here because the Cardinals just walloped the Rams 41-10 in Arizona. Cardinals just assassinated them with just pure explosiveness in both the run game and the pass game. And it was a clinic. Cardinals just performed a clinic on the Rams. Kyler Murray, perfect passer rating. Literally 158.3 perfect passer rating. MHJ, for all the crap that he had to take. Oh, he was so slow. He was the 68th slowest wide receiver, which I also pointed out. Shame on me. 68th slowest wide receiver in the league in week 1. You know, he got 0 target or 0 receptions or whatever. 4 catches, 130 yards, 1 touchdown. There he is. He hit 20 miles an hour on his breakout pass. This is what Maserati Marv is. This is who he is, and he's going to show and dominate this season if the Cardinals continue this type of an offensive showdown. They were also 7 out of 11 in terms of third down conversion rate, which is really, really good. That's almost like 75 to 80% right there. 70, I think like 67, 70%, whatever. Really good. Obviously, the run game has been super, super strong since last year. The Cardinals have been a top 5 run game, and you can see why. 40 rush attempts, 231 yards, 1 touchdown. And it's, again, a mix of pin and pull and duo read options from Kyler Murray. Just a varied run scheme. It's not stagnant. It's very dynamic. And that's why they're able to generate so much success in the running game. Their offensive line is also really, really good at moving guys around. And it's just, this is exactly what Cardinals fans have been hoping for in terms of their offensive prowess. And this is exactly what Drew Petzing is capable of. And he's quickly becoming a top 10 offensive designer in the league, especially if things continue the way they are now. And, you know, Kyler Murray being extremely efficient. It's the best that Kyler Murray has looked in his entire career. I will stand on that. He was confident, right? There's an image where he throws a touchdown pass to Elijah Higgins after scrambling inside the pocket for 8 seconds like Aaron Rodgers did and Tom Brady did in their prime. He held the follow through with his arm for a classic image. He just held it like this as a celebration. That's how confident he was. He was just in his game. Nothing and nobody could have phased him. He was shifty as ever. They didn't even seem that he had an injury to him last year, that he'd only played 9 games last year. His arm is still incredibly powerful, very efficient. It's literally the best that Kyler has looked in his career. And it's a credit to Drew Petzing and the amount of offensive weaponry that he has. Trey McBride, again, a standout tight end, probably top 5 in the league now. 6 out of 6 for 67 yards. And it's a boon to Cardinals fans because it's their top 2 offensive targets that are being targeted. Maserati Marv and Trey McBride. And then this leads to the fact that the Cards are top 5 in yards per play on the season. And they were literally the most explosive passing offense in week 2. Better than the Saints this past week, Rakshak. They were more explosive than the Saints.
Man, yeah. I mean, I'm gonna tell you this. Now that Marvin Harrison Jr. has been locked It has been unlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Good luck.
Good luck. 12th
Good
in
luck
EPA
to
per
anyone
rush.
trying to stop him.
Yeah, 12th in EPA per rush and second most explosive play, all of week 2 overall in terms of EPA per play.
Yeah.
Second most, just behind the Saints in terms of both rushing and passing. But they were the most explosive passing team this past week. That's the Cardinals. They've unlocked their true potential now, and it is scary, especially if you see the way that the Seahawks have been playing and the way the Niners have been playing.
Mhm.
It could, at the end of the season, a scenario that could happen, especially if the Niners injuries continue and Brock Purdy is not the same quarterback without all of his Avengers level players.
Mhm.
It could be a scenario that the Seahawks and the Cardinals make the playoffs and the Niners are kicked out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
The Seahawks might win the division if the Cardinals are this successful and they maintain this type of success.
Yeah. I would not be surprised by that.
Yeah. Now, the Rams. Man, half their team is on IR or doubtful.
Man.
Here's this entire list: Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Steve Avila, Jonah Jackson, Joe Noteboom, Tyler Higbee, Darius Williams, Deion Kendrick, John Johnson III, and Trey Tomlinson, and a couple of other backups. That's half their team.
That's depressing.
It's so sad being Matt Stafford. Only 2 of their starting secondary has
Mhm.
extensive veteran experience in the NFL. That's Trey White and their other safety. Everybody else is either like a 2-year player, a second year, a third year player, or a rookie. That's how bad it's gotten for the Rams. And now you also mentioned with Cooper Kupp being placed on IR and Puka Nacua being placed on IR. That means Demarcus Robinson, Jordan Whittington, and
Tutu Atwell.
Tutu Atwell are now your top 3 for Matt Stafford. And I feel bad for Matt Stafford because he tried his level best to get, like, there's this one play where it was like 3rd and 3 or something like that.
Right.
It was close to the end of the game. So not really sure why he was still in the game when it was like 38-10, but he was still in the game. He tried to get a first down, but he's just old and he's slow and he couldn't even outrun the Cardinals edge rusher to get a first down. And it was just, it, I feel like they need to figure out both Stafford and McVay, if they need to try and turn this around, if they try and turn this around, they need to quickly develop some answers against this constant pressure in terms of the pressure that they're being faced. They have to focus on creative run game. 19th in terms of EPA per rush.
Yeah.
They have to focus on creating a creative, explosive run game. And it shows, man. If they don't, it shows lack of healthy, qualified starters. Stafford was sacked 5 times, 53 yards of rushing offense on the game. That's it. 20 rush attempts, 53 yards, 1 turnover, 2 out of 11 on 3rd down, just 23 minutes of possession. For reference, that's how much the Colts got when they faced the Texans in week 1. The Texans had 40 minutes of offense of possession, and the Colts lost that game within 2 points. Right? So the defense gives up 500 yards on offense and 40 plus points because they don't have like quality starters. Everybody is either young, inexperienced, or unhealthy, and it's just depressing to watch this type of a performance for the Rams, because I feel like they need a wholesale restart at the end of this year.
I
Like,
honestly think.
windows closed.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it from my side. I thought that this was going to be close, but unfortunately it wasn't.
Yep. And now, my Masala game of the week, Bills versus Dolphins. And guess what? The Ruksha curse of picking Masala games of the week is back.
Continues.
Bills, the final score, Bills 31, Dolphins 10. All I can say is ouch.
Yeah.
I didn't watch this game, but I did catch a little bit of highlights. And of course, everyone is talking about the Tua concussion. Hope he gets well. But if you want to talk about the game overall, the Bills, what did they need to do? Hey, James Cook, do you want the ball? James Cook, do you want the ball? Here you go. That's literally what I thought happened. And James Cook was the star of the offense. And here are a bit of the stats I got from Buffalo Rumblings, the SB Nation home for the Bills. The Bills ran the ball 26 times for 108 yards, 4.15 yards per carry, and 2 touchdowns. James Cook, 78 rushing yards with only 11 carries. I felt that he could have had more, but they were doing so well with it. And PFF, I mean, I don't know what's happening with PFF lately. They've been giving some wonky grades, but I thought the line of Deion Dawkins, David Edwards, Connor McGovern, Cyrus Torrance, and Spencer Brown, I thought they had themselves a very nice game, stat-wise. And James Cook, overall, and on a Thursday night game, like he has an 87.3 PFF grade, 12 touches, 113 total yards. I'm talking not just running the ball, but passing wise, 113 total yards and 3 touchdowns, career high. He had a 3-tutty game. And again, you got and I think like the Bills, what I'm seeing the Bills do is that they're in their previous offensive schemes, they've always gone to a fast-paced offense, like keep on throwing it to Diggs, to Gabe Davis, Isaiah McKenzie, let it run out, then have a complementary run game system with Devin Singletary. But now, especially with that pickup of Keon Coleman and not Xavier Worthy, I could see why the Bills are doing it. They're going with the slow, methodical, run it through your face. You have to do it the old school way. And the best part of it, Josh Allen is not making any mistakes. 13 for 19, 139 yards and 1 touchdown. He didn't need to do anything. Khalil Shakir, 5 catches for 54 yards. Dalton Kincaid was used. Ty Johnson was used. Of course, James Cook was used. MVS, Keon Coleman, Matt Collin. Where the hell were they? They were just there on some place, and they had to run the ball. And that's not the entire story. I mean, God bless the Miami Dolphins, but oh my God. They may have had the total yards. They may have the entire passing yards and the rushing yards, but all comes, and there's a saying, defense wins championships. How did the Bills do this? If you want, they held the Dolphins to a passing touchdown and a field goal while forcing 3 turnovers. The Bills won the turnover battle, and unfortunately, what is the thing that we know to Tagovailoa? What's this other name that we like to jokingly call him?
Tua turned the ball over.
Yep, he finished the game with 17 for 25, 145 yards, 1 touchdown. But here's the big one: 3 interceptions. I was surprised that they didn't even use Devon A. Chain. They tried to use Devon A. Chain a lot, but that Bills defense, holy crap, they were swarming at points of attack. And if you wanted to know like how bad this was, Miami's first drive, interception with 6 plays already gone, resulting in a touchdown. Bills score, then the Dolphins score, punt. Dolphins, interception, punt, turnover on downs, field goal. And then what really shocked, what was really like, I thought really killed off this entire game. 3rd and 5, Tua, short pass to Ingram, intercepted by AJ Epineza. Ingram, out of nowhere, comes. And by the way, the Bills were without a bunch of several starters. They managed to get 10 points off of those 2 picks. This one was a pick 6. And as the famous chiseled Adonis would say, "Can I get a pick 6? Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm loving it."
Exactly. There you go.
Honest. And of course, they do have some field goal controversy because at 4th and 11, Tyler Bass misses a field goal. No good. And apparently, they're actually trying out field goal kickers right now. The Bills are. You can look it up, and they're doing that. But I mean, I wish I could go through all the stats, like how the Dolphins like outgained them on offense. It could just be like numerical value. But if you had watched the game, the Bills defense played a swarm and attack run, especially when they had a bunch of players started. And Skylar Thompson, God bless his soul, he couldn't do a damn thing. Anything else you want to add about this team? About this game?
No, I mean it's just depressing to watch. To getting another concussion and not being able to compete in the league. But the Bills are here, man. The Bills are here, especially if they're able to maintain this consistent rushing game that they have. This is exactly what they needed in terms of a balanced rushing and passing attack to beat the Chiefs.
If they beat the Chiefs with Keon Coleman, we'll eat our words.
Please. All righty. So that's going to be it for the Masala games of the week. And now we are going to do the best segment that NFL Masala has ever created. The Punch Minute Recap. Punch. Started.
Everybody. Who needs shots by Lil Jon and LFAO?
Yes.
We got the Punch Minutes right here, baby. Let's get it.
Sir. Alrighty. Let's get started with the AFC. Jets versus Titans. Jets win 24-17. And guess what, Rakshak? Will Levis's turnover emporium has remained in business. He now is tied third. Huh?
Tasty
turnovers, man. That bakery is flying high in terms of revenue. Third in interceptions with 3 picks so far in 2 weeks, and he leads the league with fumbles lost of 2 amongst quarterbacks. So that means he's now tied for most turnovers by a quarterback for first with 5 total turnovers in 2 weeks. Will Levis, the Mayo Man. Browns versus Jags. Browns.
Wait, I gotta say this. Looks like the Malik Willis trade drop off is
next week is gonna be fun.
Baby.
Anyways, Browns versus Jags. Browns win 18-13. Somehow, Trevor Lawrence only had 16 pass yards at the end of the first half and barely cracked 200 at the end of the game. So much for the $270 million man. Next up, Raiders versus Ravens. Raiders win 26-23.
Oh my God.
How? Ravens, how? How have you taken the curse of you blew it from the Falcons? It's another 10-point lead.
I think the Eagles followed the Ravens in this footsteps. I think the Eagles followed the Ravens game plan at this one.
Yes. It's typical of the Ravens. This is now their eighth disastrous, like 10-plus point lead blown in the fourth quarter in the past 2 years. That's disgraceful. But it's typical of the Ravens. Next game, Steelers versus Broncos. Steelers win 13-6. It was a disgusting game to watch. Mo picks. Plus Justin Fields looks okay.
And you know what that means? The Steelers are going to the Super Bowl. In the terms of your
bullshit is real.
And the high-end talent.
It will take the Steelers there.
If they
TJ
win,
Watt will single-handedly take the Steelers to the Super Bowl,
and
dragging Justin Fields with him.
if
All right.
if they win and by the way, here's a shocker. They are leading the AFC North. Do you understand?
Ravens, please take control of the division. We don't want the Steelers to remain this powerful. Are you kidding me?
The Yinzers are gonna take
The
over.
Yinzers are going to tear Pittsburgh in half if the
God.
Pittsburgh Steelers win the AFC North. All right.
And if they go to the Super Bowl.
Oh my God. That's the end. That's the end of the NFL as we know it. All right. Chiefs versus Bengals.
Oh,
Chiefs win 26-25. Ref ball reigns supreme. The most disheartening part of this game was that no referee was harmed in the game. Most disheartening part. Referee should have been targeted, head-butted, assassinated. It should have been with that last call.
We don't condemn violence here in NFL Masala.
Except against the refs. That's
Oh
the
my God.
Just bring robots in at this point. I don't care. First job to be eliminated with automation and AI. NFL refs. Next game, Texans versus Bears. Texans win 19-13. Hey, Ryan Poles, I have an idea. How about you invest in that O-line, bro? The Texans pressured Caleb Williams on 36 of his 37 pass attempts. That's a 97% pressure rate. He did not have the time to throw or breathe. And this is exactly what happens to the Bears. You say you win the offseason, and then something happens in the regular season that makes you eat your words. So guess what? The city of Chicago, please, Lake Michigan is right there. In the winter, you dig a hole, you have a beeline, and you go right straight in. That's it. That's the only cure to the madness of the Chicago Bears. Diving straight into the icy waters of the Lake Michigan and closing the ice on top of you. That's it.
All right. To the NFC. Saints versus the Cowboys. Saints win 44-19. Now, I think this is where I get a lot of joy with this. But stay with me, America. How about them Cowboys? Because, we have a 16-game winning streak. Oh, guess what? That broke when you faced off against the Packers, and now you have a losing streak. Now you got dog walked by Alvin Kamara. And those are coming in to my DMs and talking all this shit. Even you, Abhishek Ramani, sit your ass down, you jabroni. You got dog walked. Where the hell was pressure? Micah Parsons. Oh, it's about the game. Dude, shut your ass up. Quit your podcast, you lousy jabroni. Alvin Kamara took you to town with 4 touchdowns.
Did you know? Yeah, go ahead.
And no, but go ahead. I want to hear this.
Okay. The Cowboys have officially created history by being the first team in all of NFL history to allow back-to-back 44-plus point games on defense at home.
You know what we always say? When it matters the most, what can go wrong
will go wrong.
They are
the Cowboys are waiting to happen.
All right. That and with how bad the Cowboys suck. I took pleasure in watching that. Bucks 20, Lions 16. It was actually a close and competitive game. Aiden Hutchinson's 5 sacks could not stop Baker from making plays.
Yeah, because they decided to pass 55 times.
Why? You had David Montgomery.
And Jahmyr Gibbs.
Explain this logic. Vikings versus the Niners. I mean, the only thing... Vikings 23-17.
Oh, boy.
Man, I think they're feeling up themselves. Ty Chandler, they run game. I'm so happy I got Jordan Mason in my fantasy. 20 carries, 100 rushing yards on a touchdown. I haven't even checked my thing. Debo, 8 for 11, and Justin Jefferson went off in this game. The biggest highlight I thought was that Sam Darnold 97-yard bomb. I thought that was a big.
He even had Jalen Naylor open on that play as well.
And
he literally had 2 deep options open. That's how bad the 49er secondary was.
And they did it without Jordan Addison, so I was I was impressed with that. Now moving on, the Commanders versus the Giants. Commanders 21, Giants 18. Commanders won just by kicking field goals. Did they pick this shit up from Pittsburgh?
The Giants scored 3 touchdowns and still lost.
Yeah, I mean, Malik Neighbors looked really good. He is going to be a problem in the NFC East. But Jaden Daniels, I thought he actually had a pretty decent game. Took the reads. The running backs, Brian Robinson Jr., dude, start him over Austin Eckler, please. And Neighbors, you dropped the ball. Literally, you dropped the ball.
You dropped the ball.
And
you
then
dropped the ball joining the Giants.
Then you have the Seahawks versus the Pats. The Sea Chickens at 23, Pats 20. In overtime, we had an overtime game. This was very close. And I thought like the only highlight I saw was Hunter Henry making a big play. That's all I checked. I'm like, oh, what's this happening? And then DK Metcalf just taking over. And we would like to see the Patriots score, but they didn't. And the Seahawks took advantage of it. They kicked the game winner. Mike McDonald's putting up a pretty good defensive resume so far. I'll give him that. And now, last but not least, Anant, I really want to skip this team. Chargers versus Panthers. Let's make
the relegated team.
Chargers 26, Panthers 3. I mean, Chargers got purely dominated. They made this into like a JV versus a random middle school team like Bishop Sycamore. Panthers, they just need to be relegated for this type of performance. Chargers, they did have some injuries, so we could be seeing Blake Corum come in. Imagine, is Blake Corum? If Blake Corum's with the Chargers, I think.
No, he's with the Rams.
Oh, damn. We might be seeing Blake Corum with the Rams next week. But, man, Justin Herbert and J.K. Dobbins. J.K. Dobbins is
leading rusher at 9.9 yards per carry.
Just insane. I mean, if the Chargers and the Texans go at it, I want to see a showdown between those two. That's it.
All right. So that's going to be it for the Punch Minute Recap. Now we're going to finish off this week 2 recap with the Masala Moment of the Week. Let's quickly fire this out. For me, the one positive thing to come out of that Steelers-Broncos game, at least for the White Horsies, was the trick play that they had, which was like a double reverse fake play action throw deep down the middle to Reynolds for a 50-yard gain, only for Mo Picks to throw another interception in the end zone. It's still a good play. The most positive thing to happen for the Broncos in this entire season was that one trick play. Yeah, that was my Masala Moment of the Week. That it was a fantastic play. You guys should watch the highlight.
Yeah. And now my Masala Moment of the game, Cincinnati versus Kansas City. Everyone else is talking about it. Mahomes throws a fade to Xavier Worthy. But guess what? The cornerback who is Cam Taylor-Britt, who backed up this trash talk, saying Xavier Worthy only runs, what does he do? What does Xavier Worthy do according to Cam Taylor-Britt?
Only runs fast and straight.
He backed that shit up. And he covered Xavier Worthy. Beautiful one-handed interception via OBJ on defense. That was I think that's interception or play of the year.
Alrighty. Yeah, that's like iconic catch like Odell Beckham Jr. did back in his heyday. Alrighty, so that's going to be it for the week 2 recap for us. Now we're going to talk about the week 3. So, Rakshak, let's get started, shall we?
Yeah, that's gonna be an interesting way of putting it, because after this Eagles debacle, this choke job that the Eagles pulled off against the Falcons, I don't even know if this team is confident enough to stop the New Orleans Saints. This is a Saints team that has put up 40 straight points in 40 plus straight points in 2 games whatsoever. And the biggest reason has to be the addition of Clint Kubiak. Excuse me. Clint Kubiak, while taking over the offensive coordinating position of Pete Carmichael, who should be in Guantanamo Bay for withholding this key offensive powerhouse that the Saints have, and Derek Carr being like a mid-ish QB. Well, Derek Carr is actually playing out of his mind. And with that being said, we got to talk about this. The biggest matchup or the biggest concern of this Eagles defense is, how the hell do you stop Alvin Kamara, for crying out loud? Alvin Kamara, and this is from the Saints, from Canal Street Chronicles, which is the Saints SB Nation site. Kamara has clocked a 60% rush success rate with 4 runs of 10 plus yards, all towards the outside, behind the rookie Talis Fuaga and veteran Lucas Patrick on their left guard and left tackle. And Fuaga, and Lucas Patrick, he has a significant impact on the run game. 97.2% overall PFF grade against the Dallas defense. They stopped against the Cowboys defense that is built on speed. They carved up that defense with that run game. And if I want to talk more about what that run game is, let me pull it of the Saints. Let me pull up some stats. Alvin Kamara, 20 carries, 115 rushing yards, averaging 5.8 as long as it's a 15-yard carry. He was literally the star of the show. And all has to be on that Saints offensive line with Talis Fuaga, Trevor Penning, Cesar Ruiz, and Lucas Patrick, and Eric McCoy. Those guys, and the emergence of Clint Kubiak, it's just amazing to see. And not only that, the Eagles, if you want to look at Eagles defense against the run, they have allowed almost 100 rushing yards against the Saints. And rushing yards, running backs have rushed. And if you want to look at total, running backs have ran for 280 yards against the Eagles in 2 games combined. I don't know how. If you're seeing Kamara run in between the tackles by that strong offensive line, how the hell are the Eagles going to do this? And this has to come up front. I'm looking at Josh Sweat. I'm looking at Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Milton Williams, Mauro Jomo. And I also have to put into consideration trying to think. Yeah, Bryce Huff. Where the hell is Bryce Huff in this game? I honestly think that Howie should make a call and get Hassan Reddick. I don't know how the hell you stop Alvin Kamara, but if you can at least try and contain him, I don't want to see just sitting with zone. Honestly think this is the time the Eagles need to activate Devin White for this game, or even put in Oren Burks. Hell, I'd rather see them go in a 3 linebacker set and probably go 4-3. Try it. It's not that effing hard. And I think, and with Kamara, not only does he allow that running game to open, not only is he so damn great in the running game, he like he's amazing in the passing game. And if you want to talk about about the Saints passing offense, you got two big threats: Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave. And don't forget the gadget man and Taysom Hill, who can not only throw, but he can also play tight end and run. Yeah, he's so goddamn annoying. And Derek Carr has a freaking renaissance over with that, man. It's like he's literally turned himself a new leaf. He had in his game against the against the Cowboys, 11 out of 16, 11 for 16, 243 yards, 15.2 average, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception over guys like Trayvon Diggs, Trayvon Diggs, Donovan Wilson, Jordan Lewis. I mean, this is it's just insane. And if you want to talk about defensive matchups, I would say Vic Fangio has to stop playing a shell zone defense. And I would say if you want the best matchup as possible, I would put Quinyon Mitchell over Rashid Shaheed. And hear me out, against Chris Olave, who is an excellent route runner, very shifty, and has tremendous amounts of speed. I would put Keely Ringo or Isaiah Rodgers. I'm at the point in which I do not trust Darius Slay at the moment. I don't think he should cover. He should only cover the outside if no one is there, or unless help with run blocking. I honestly think you could try and put in Cooper DeJean in this game. I want to see I would like to see a 3 safety look. Have Cooper DeJean playing as that box safety. And this is a game which I need Chauncey Gardner-Johnson and Devin White to be on that field. And for the love of God, please generate a pass rush. And if you want to talk a little bit more about Clint Kubiak, this guy, they lead the league with a rate of 52.3% in 2 weeks with using pre-motion. Play action on 42% of dropbacks, 10% more than the highest season long rate in the NFL history. No other team has topped 40% play action usage to start 2024. And the way that Clint Kubiak has introduced the Kyle Shanahan type of offense for the Saints, this is a very dangerous for any defense, and a non-existent defense that the Eagles played last week against Kirk Cousins. If the Eagles even have a chance to stop this passing attack and the rush defense the rush attack of Alvin Kamara, they need to bring in the pressure. I don't care what they do. Jordan Davis needs to be more involved. Brandon Graham can't be the only guy in. And we should be all demanding for Bryce Huff's head, but I'd rather see Jalex Hunt, the 3rd-round rookie, come in and play and get some snaps at it. Hell, Thomas Booker, who has been a journeyman free agent, he played a good game. I'd rather see him on the field with some run blocking assistance. Hell, get Moro Jomo in. Do something, Eagles. Do effing something. And now let's turn the tables. Eagles offense versus the Saints defense. You got no A.J. Brown, and it really shows how this Kellen Moore offense needs to work with. The Saints defense against the running backs, it's very, very interesting. Against Dallas, they what I saw is that they only allowed like 30%, 30 yards of rushing to Rico Dowdle, Zeke, and Dak and Deuce Vaughn. I didn't see a lot of the run game because it was mainly Dak Prescott trying to throw the ball and make this offense work. However, if I'm the Eagles, if I want to look at the Saints depth chart, let me share my screen. 1 second with you. It's just so goddamn ridiculous. Let's do this. The Saints depth chart. If I'm looking at their defense, defensive part, of course, Cam Jordan is a monster, but then of course the adding Chase Young behind Carl Granderson, that pressure rate, they can literally bring and they can literally go with a 4-man pressure and force and cause hell for for any quarterback. I mean, if you look at Dak Prescott, he was sacked 3 times. He threw 2 picks, QBR of 53.4 with a rating of 78.3. And if there's only one, and if you can try and exploit a weakness, it has to be with the run game. The Eagles have to start off early with Saquon Barkley. Knowing that they have good defensive, they have good linebackers. Willie Gay, who used to be with the Chiefs, Demario Davis, and Pete Werner. Demario Davis had himself a pick. No, nearly had himself a pick. But I'll get there later. And of course the secondary: Will Harris, Tyron Honey Badger Matthew, and Marshawn Lattimore, who didn't play that much. But of course, we have to look at Kool-Aid McKinstry. We also have to look at Paulson Adebo. Adebo and Matthew both had interceptions when Dak Prescott was throwing it right into double coverage.
Yep.
Eagles cannot, I repeat, cannot do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it all comes down with the decision making by Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni. The thing
Jalen Hurts.
And
he has
Hurts,
got to be aware to not throw into double coverage to try and escape a sack.
If you somehow lose this game and not force a turnover, I will take this as a win, as a moral win. I know there's no such thing as moral wins, but that is what you expect from your number 1 QB. And I would say immediately use the run. It was working earlier when you were giving Saquon more than 20 carries. Give him more. You have to be sensible with the play calling. And yes, the Saints will try and bring in a little bit of the blitz, but you cannot just target Devontae Smith. You have to involve Jahan Dotson. You have to involve more of 21 personnel. I didn't see Goddard I want to see more of Dallas Goddard get used in this game. And I mean, Dallas Goddard can attack the middle of the field. You need to have and Jalen Hurts with those design runs, he was doing so well. Let him run the ball against that Saints defense, and I promise you, it will work wonders. And what's crazy? This offense is 6th ranked in the NFL. I guess it can't. And the play, and I mean, like, and again, you gotta be. And of course, like the route designs, yes, attack the middle of the field, use Goddard. I want to see more also Calcaterra. Don't just rely a lot on Covey. I want to see Jahan Dotson. Use every single weapon that you have. If AJ Brown is playing in this game, so be it. I'm happy. But if he is not, which he said he may be out for a couple of weeks, maybe until the Cleveland game, which I'll be going to, by the way, I just don't see. I just don't see how the Eagles offense can work this out without running the ball. They need to give Saquon Barkley at least 40 touches in this game. And maybe if the play action works, if they're able to get those dink and dunk passes and run the clock while running the ball, that also works too. Get those 10-minute drives. That's the only way the Eagles are winning this game. They have to control the clock. They have to run the ball. They have to score points. Score touchdowns and take the points when needed, and don't force a fucking turnover. That is all I ask for on this offense. And defense, you got to put in Devin White in this game because he knows how to play against Alvin Kamara with him being in Tampa. And CJ Gardner-Johnson may have that homecoming when he was back then with New Orleans. So he may have some idea, but that's just saying words. I would see Quinyon Mitchell on Rashid Shaheed. I would like to see Keely Ringo on Chris Olave. Remember, Georgia and Ohio State. That game. And, I mean, I'd rather see the young guns go at it. Cooper DeJean, I want to see more snaps from him. And defensive line, but please, for the love of God, get a pressure. And if Howie Roseman needs to get Hassan Reddick back in, I'm okay with it at the moment because we literally need him. If we cannot generate a pressure from the edges.
Yeah. A lot of things have to go right.
And
I feel like
a lot of things. And you know what? My prediction, I have the Saints winning this game 35-17.
Yeah, I just think that the Eagles are not there yet in terms of their defensive capacity to beat this team. And yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think the Eagles win either. I think it's a blowout victory for the Saints, 35-20.
Yeah.
More than the Cowboys. You score more points than the Cowboys, so you at least have that against
Yep.
Abhishek. But
If
yeah.
we somehow win this game, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
You're gonna have a party.
I know I will
Everything.
still be pissed on
Yeah.
how we beat the Saints, but we lose to the Falcons.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm still gonna be mad anyway.
Yeah. Alrighty. So that's gonna be it for the Eagles. Now on to the Packers. Guess who we are facing this week?
Oh, is it a familiar foe?
Oh yeah. Not for us though. It is actually a familiar frenemy with
Ooh.
the Titans, the Titans. It's an ex-Titans revenge game for LaFleur, Narvison, and Malik Willis. Narvison, who is our kicker, he was the Titans kicker who was let go and signed by the Packers. Malik Willis, we already know he was their starting quarterback before they drafted Will Levis to replace him, and now
Yep.
they traded to the Packers for a 7th-round pick. And LaFleur, their offensive coordinator way back when in 2017, 2018, that they let go of in favor of Arthur Smith. So this is going to be a revenge game for all three of these guys. And for the Packers to win, the keys to victory
Mm-hmm.
is to manage our run game as usual, just like with the Colts. But the Titans have a much, much tougher run defense than the Colts. They're number one in stuffing percentage, which means when it comes to 3rd and short and 4th and short, they are the best at stopping the offense. They're 4th in adjusted line yards, which means that D line is ferocious at not allowing anything to be a successful run play. But this team, this defense has a weakness against the run because they're ranked 17th overall in terms of DVOA. Why? Well, that's because their open field tackling and their open field rush defense, which is their secondary and their linebackers, is piss poor to say the least. 27th DVOA in the league for this past 2 weeks, which means their secondary and their linebackers are not really adept at running, at defending the run, whether it's, setting the edge, well, not setting the edge, but getting off tackle plays or getting, plays up through the middle. They're not really good at tackling and defending these runs. So if LaFleur can target, off tackle plays using a lot of sweeps, jet motions, outside zone counters, and RPOs against this Titans defense, then we can have a successful running game against this Titan defense and potentially win the game as well, because that's exactly what we did with the Colts, right? We ran the ball, we ran it in different ways, but we ran the ball 51 times. If we run a similar amount of if we run with a similar frequency and with a similar set of creative schemes, then we can definitely target the outside portion of this Tennessee Titans defense and run against those lighter secondary players and linebackers as well. So that's one way that we can definitely win this game, is to attack the edges and attack the secondary and the linebackers in the run game. Hopefully, Josh Jacobs can capitalize on certain weak edge setters, especially if you run a lot of like off tackle plays as well, and go past, if we run 12 personnel and you go past the tackle as well, past the tight end, he can capitalize on that because, as I said before, he's second in terms of rushing yards over expected, which means his ability to juke out players is far and away the second best in the entire league at 62 yards. So Yeah, his ability, his like unique ability to run the football should definitely help the Packers win, especially from a run standpoint. Now, from a passing standpoint, the Titans are good. They have a top 10 pass defense, but again, they're weak against the running backs. 26 DVOA versus running backs for in passing situations. So this means that Jaden Reed, Emmanuel Wilson, and Josh Jacobs will get a lot of screen passes, swing passes, tosses, jet sweeps, end arounds, etc. Reverses and double reverses. Those things should be a key for a key plan in the game plan for Matt LaFleur against this defense. Now, unfortunately, Marshawn Lloyd is on IR because of a hamstring injury. So that means Emmanuel Wilson will be coming in, and they've also activated Chris Brooks, who used to be on the Dolphins in the preseason off the practice squad as our third running back. Third running back. So hopefully he might get some touches because he's a bowling ball type of a back as well. So in the passing game, we should target our running backs because that's what the Titans are weakest in. And LaFleur, as we know, has a fantastic ability of forcing, short passes to the running backs and wide receivers who are used as running backs, aka Jaden Reed and Bo Melton. So focusing on that will help our offense be successful. Now, one more thing that they can do on the offense is to keep Malik Willis clean with a lot of 6 to 7 man protections, exactly like they did versus the Colts, because this D line is a ferocious D line with Jeffrey Simmons, Tavondre Sweat, Harold Landry. If they get pressure on Malik Willis, bad things are going to happen. So hopefully, if they can keep the same type of protections that they had versus the Colts, that's going to keep Malik Willis clean. Provide options is what Matt LaFleur is going to do. We know he's going to provide that. Now, on the defensive side, just like they did against the Colts, I'm not really worried about this Colts offense per se, especially that run game. I'm not really worried about that. I'm definitely not worried about that pass game because the great Will Levis gladly obliges in terms of turning over weekly. So that's exactly what this defense is adept at. They're adept at generating turnovers, and they will do so this game. I guarantee that they will get 2 turnovers this game, just because the way that Will Levis has played and the way that this defense has played. So I'm not really worried about this game from a defensive standpoint for the Packers. Now, for the Titans, I expect a lot of interior pass rush with Simmons and Sweat to cause turnovers to win, because that's what the Titans need. They need turnovers. They need to give Will Levis as many chances as possible from a defensive standpoint. Now, from an offensive standpoint, Will Levis's turnover potential has to be reined in with easy answers provided against 4 to 5 man pressures that Jeff Hafley typically runs, because he doesn't typically blitz, but they typically run 4 to 5 man pressures. And that's going to be up to Bill Callahan to provide that scheme. But also it's going to be up to Will Levis to actually perform in those type of crunch situations and not panic. But it's highly unlikely given that it's solved so easily in 1 week, and given that this Packers defense is number 1 in terms of interceptions in the entire league and number 2 in terms of turnover differential. Yeah, it's going to be a long day for Will Levis. This is not the defense for him to have a correction. This is actually a defense. Well, I mean, he should, but I don't think he will, because our defense is that good at turning over the ball. Now,
it's just too much, to be honest.
Yeah, what they can do is what the Packers did against the Colts. Run the football. And the Packers defense, unfortunately, is still leaking some runs. We saw this in the second half of the Colts game, where where Jonathan Taylor was getting some easy answers. There was a lot of missed tackles. The Colts were running a lot of 12 to 22 personnel, or 12 personnel mostly, running under center, and that's how they were able to generate a lot of rushing success. Now, a lot of that success for the Colts in the second half was because Jonathan Taylor was so good. Now, unfortunately for the Titans, they don't have Jonathan Taylor. They have Tony Pollard and they have Tajay Spears.
And what about Hassan Haskins?
And Hassan Haskins, but they're not going to be as successful as Jonathan Taylor. So they could, I think they can rack up about 150 rushing yards against this Packers defense if they continue at it and they hold Will Levis to like less than 15 pass attempts. But if it goes more than that and they have to be in a pass first situation because the Packers offense just wills the Tennessee Titans defense to give up, then it's going to be a long day for the Titans. And I think the Packers win, but I think it's going to be very low scoring, 14-13. Defensive slugfest, running slugfest. I think it's going to be very, very long drives, and time of possession is probably going to be favoring Packers at like 35-25, let's say. But yeah, I don't really see a lot of success for the Titans. If the offense was better, then I'd say that they had a fair chance. But yeah, I think the Packers win, but I'm still keeping my fingers crossed because I fear this Titans defense. Beat the Dole moment. I think they're going to end up being a top 5 defense this year.
Titans?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I think they really do. They can really surprise teams with that defense. But just to help out with Will Levis, but honestly, I think as long as their run game is in balance and like Malik Willis, all he does is like, oh, let me just work out my arm because I need to, work on the lateral.
Exactly, the handoff. The handoff. He just needs to do a lateral raise like this. That's all.
Yeah.
That's all he needs to work out on.
And I think like also I don't know if he can still do that, but Malik Willis might give some insight on what this Titans personnel can be. Maybe not. It's just a hypothetical thinking, but
I think he can have a couple of scrambles.
Yeah,
I think he showed that ability against
Beat the Dole moment right here. I think he has
like
a rushing touchdown.
Ooh,
Malik Willis rushing touchdown.
Okay. It's possible. It's possible. They had LaFleur dialed up a couple of QB draws for Malik Willis there last week, I think. So,
but I gotta ask you this: if Malik Willis outshines everyone until Jordan Love comes back, do we see a QB controversy?
No. Malik Willis is too humble for that. He literally was in every press conference. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm just preparing until Jordan Love comes back. I'm just helping whatever I can." To do. Yeah, I know. But hey, at least Malik Willis is better than Caleb Williams, that's for sure. And Caleb Williams got all the weapons, right? He's got a top 10 weaponry. He's gonna be the number 1 quarterback. Some Bears fans were saying that, bro. He's gonna be a top 5 quarterback to start in the NFL. That's how much hopium the Bears fans have taken this offseason. This is why I suggested what I suggested. Make a beeline to Lake Michigan. It's right there. It's on your doorstep. Go take the river.
Oh, man.
Soldier Field is right there. It's literally on the water. 100 feet away. Alrighty. That's going to be it for our games. Now we're going to talk about our Masala games, and I'm going to get started with the Ravens facing the Cowboys. Both are coming off of major upsets. One completely different from the other. Looking at you, Cowboys. Cough, cough.
It made it super obvious by
the way. Honestly, for the Cowboys, though, they have to get this win, man. I don't know what that Cowboys fan base is going to do if they lose to the Saints and the Ravens in back-to-back weeks and they start 1-2. And
they'll be saying, "Okay, here we go to the couch."
Exactly. That's exactly what's going to happen. But yeah, if Dak is not impressive again, and if Michael Parsons and that defense gives up like another 30 burger on the defensive side to the Ravens, things are going to get spicy, especially for us, because we're gonna enjoy the heck out of it. It's like eating a crispy, hot, fresh Mysore masala dosa.
Oh,
If the Cowboys lose to the Ravens, it'll be like that. The amount of joy that we would get, Rakshak.
I know what you mean, man. You know what? We should get Abhishek for this game.
Yes, sir. Yes,
we,
sir.
we just like to get a reaction.
Yes, sir. See, and then on that reaction episode, us two will be eating crispy Mysore masala dosas. He'll be eating like a soggy, stale idli. Just to signify.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty. let's move on before we murder Abhishek or he murders us. For the Cowboys, though, for them to win, they have to target this Ravens offensive line because the Ravens have the 6th highest pressure percentage allowed, but are 3rd in terms of sacks allowed. They've only given up like 2 or 3 sacks on the entire season in 2 weeks. But that's because Lamar is so incredibly difficult to bring down. So if you get pressure on Lamar, it is definitely possible to create turnovers off of that pressure because the Cowboys are 5th in terms of adjusted sack rate, which means they have a really high pressure rate and they can get to the quarterback. Now, they didn't do that against the Saints. They only had like 10 pressures on the entire game.
Only one sack.
Yeah, and only 1 sack. So they have to be like they were against the Browns, constantly in the quarterback's face and constantly pressuring the quarterback to make mistakes and negative plays. Now, Micah Parsons and that company has to keep Lamar in the pocket by generating pressure from the outside and force him to stay in the pocket, because if he runs away from that pocket, he's going to make plays, mostly with his legs or with his arms. And it's definitely possible considering this Cowboys secondary and linebacker core is not the greatest in the league. I mean, you got Trayvon Diggs as your best corner, and it's definitely something that you can target. You look at the Saints, especially if you have play action, which I'm going to get to in a little bit. But yeah, it's the Cowboys have got to pressure Lamar and keep him in the pocket and force him to create negative plays and turnovers. That has to be done. Otherwise, you're losing significantly. Now, from a offensive standpoint for the Cowboys, they have to target this Ravens secondary because it is weak across the board. 19th in overall pass DVOA, but 25th versus the number 1 wide receiver, which means CeeDee Lamb has to have a big game. He has to get
CeeDee Lamb
like 20 times.
CeeDee Lamb on fantasy.
Yeah, start CeeDee Lamb on fantasy. He has to be targeted 20 times, and CeeDee Lamb has to have like a big game. He has to have like a 15 catch, 150-yard game for the Cowboys to win.
And adding on to that, in that game against the Saints, CeeDee Lamb was targeted 7 times for 4 receptions, 90 yards.
That ain't gonna cut it.
That's not gonna cut it because if you target him 7 times, Kyle Hamilton, he's gonna lay a wood chipper. That's for sure.
Yeah. The other secondary players that the Ravens have, you can target, right? And it's not the same way that the Ravens were last year under Mike McDonald, where they're disguising coverages significantly, and they're just insane, right? It's not the same defense as it was last year. So I expect a lot of quick passes, get the ball out, because the Ravens, they are strong in terms of pass rush. They're 9th in adjusted sack rate, which means if Dak Prescott holds the ball, that's going to cause a lot of negative plays. So a lot of quick passes, slants, crossers, hooks and curls, throws to the flat, Texas routes to, or choice routes to your running back. You have to get the ball out in like under 2.5 seconds, because the longer you hold the ball, that easier the easier game it is going to be for the Ravens to create negative plays. Now, it's a staple of the West Coast offense to have easy quick throws, especially if your wide receivers can outmatch the opposing defense secondary players. And in CD Lamb's case, he can for the most part. So they should target him, and they should target him like 20 times. Also, don't just try to ram the ball with Zeke up the middle, because the Ravens defense is second in adjusted line yards and running back yards. So use more Rico Dowdle to the outside. That's going to help you a lot more. For the Ravens, two things. You got to have more explosive pass plays, because this Cowboys secondary, if you do it right, they are cookable. they can be cooked with explosive pass plays, as we saw with the Saints, right? I think Derek Carr, this is insane statistic. He had, I think, like 13 dropbacks in play action or some other like deep throw, and they had 213 yards off of those 13 dropbacks in terms of either play action or I forget what the exact stat is, but he had 22 yards per reception per completion. 22 yards per completion. That's as deep in terms of average depth of target as you can get. Right? So average depth of completion as you can get. My apologies. So definitely the Ravens need to target more explosive pass plays, because they're only 17th in EPA per dropback, and Lamar is 19th in terms of EPA with air yards. So that's one thing. And the second thing, as we saw against the Saints, a lot of play action, because the linebacking core for the Cowboys is weak as heck. And it's continuing from last year as well. 29th in second level DVOA versus runs. And then you just have to watch the Saints game. You don't even need any sort of stats. You just need to watch the Saints game if you want to look at how weak that defense is against play action. So I expect a lot of play action, a lot of RPOs as well, to confuse this Cowboys defense for the Ravens to win. A lot of creativity is required for the Ravens offense. They can't be static, right? They can't just depend on Lamar. So I think the Ravens win in a close game, 24-21, because the Cowboys is suspect. The Cowboys defense is suspect. And I think, especially against creative offenses, and if Todd Monken can be creative, which we know he can be from last year, and if they can turn up their creativity, then yeah, I think the Ravens can win. And I think they do win, but it's a close game because I just don't see enough from the Ravens so far. So the Cowboys do have a fighting chance, but we'll see.
Yeah, I bet. Well, with that being said, my game of the week, my Masala game of the week, please don't let this be a curse. Please don't let this be a blowout. Please don't let this be a blowout. Guess what it is? Vikings versus Texans.
I hate the fact that the Vikings are so good, man. I hate it. I hate that Garvin and I predicted that Sam Darnold would actually be good. Actually. And it's turning out to be true.
All right.
Sam Darnold is like a top 5 quarterback in the league right now, dude.
That it's just insane to see how he's playing. He just needs to be in the right system, and look where he is. But let's get to it. Vikings defense versus the Texans offense. Let's break it down like this way.
Mm-hmm.
Vikings have been playing some pretty good defense so far. I mean, other than if you look at the last 2 games, they've allowed almost close to 100 rushing yards of rushing. And currently Joe Mixon, who is, I believe he's one like top 5 in rushing at the moment, coming out of 2 games, he's currently questionable at the moment. Texans, if I'm looking at the Texans depth chart, which I am trying to find, I have it pulled up on ESPN. Their depth chart, if Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce aren't available, they have Cam Akers and Dare Ogunbowale ready to go. But That's not the Texans offense. Their number one guy, Mr. C.J. Stroud, I believe, who might be MVP candidate. Beat the
Yes, sir.
Dome, MVP candidate for sure. I think this is going to be honestly, this is a chess match, and you're going up against and I think they'll be seeing a very familiar face in Blake Cashman. Blake Cashman and Jonathan Greenland, both on the Vikings, former Texans players on defense. They last game against the Niners, both of them recorded 6 sacks on Brock Purdy, forced 2 turnovers in their game. But regarding about the and if you wanted to take a look at CJ Stroud's, who is his biggest weapon right now? It's not
Collins.
Diggs. It is Nico Collins.
Top 10 receiver in the league.
If you look at week 2, 135 yards of reception and a touchdown. And it is the way that Stroud is recognizing the pressure. He's yet to throw a pick. And I read the stat from SI. In 19 career games, including the playoffs, Stroud has thrown for 29 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. But PFF has tracked him for 4 turnover-worthy passes through 2 games, even though he's not thrown a pick. That is tied for 3rd most, trailing only Caleb Williams with 5 and Jalen Hurts with 6. Dear God. He only had 18 turnover-worthy passes all of last season. So, so far, he's not been sacked. That is the big time for CJ Stroud. Or you know what? Last game, he was only sacked. He was sacked 3 times. Never mind. but surprisingly, it's like even with Bobby Slowick's type of offense, like where they're able to generate a lot more, especially with the ground game of Joe Mixon and CJ Stroud throwing bombs going through his progression,
back foot, going to the ground and throwing 4th down conversions. Man, he's a special human being. And I'm very interested to see how Brian Flores handles this. I think, and looking at I want to try this exercise with you. Looking at the Vikings defensive scheme, they basically go 3-4. Jerry Tillery, Harrison Phillips, Jonathan Bullard, and Jonathan Greenland. But then they got Greenland, Ivan Pace, Blake Cashman, and Andrew Van Ginkel. Van Ginkel has a resurgence of a career. Mm-hmm.
I would say he's going to bring the house out against CJ Stroud because he wants to see how CJ Stroud handles the blitz. And does he have a out route ready? And besides, Stephon Gilmore is not a walkover. He's been playing some pretty good footballs too. Other than Deebo Samuel being everywhere, I thought they did decent. Harrison Smith, surprising. Cameron Bynum and Shaq Griffin and Byron Murphy Jr. I thought that trade to the Cardinals really helped him out. Mm-hmm. He's thriving big time in that Brian Flores type of defense. So other than Nico Collins, if Nico Collins is going to be heavily guarded by Gilmore, I think this could be a big game for Mr. Dalton Schultz, Stephon Diggs, and Tank Dell. Those are going to be my three guys I would keep an eye out on. And Stephon Diggs, 2 touchdown game. I'm calling it out. I'm calling a 2 touchdown game for Stephon Diggs
against this Vikings defense.
Against the Vikings defense, because I think if there's one person who I think can exploit it, Stephon Diggs,
especially in the red zone,
especially red zone plays, and with the growing injury concerns, I think he's going to be used a lot more. But I would like to see more of the tight ends being used. And now, Vikings offense versus Texans defense. I looked For this upcoming game, I did look at the injury report. Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson are questionable after Justin Jefferson left halfway in that game against the Niners.
Hmm.
If he's not playing, I want to look at the Vikings offense. Who do they have remaining for Sam Darnold? You really think you could go with Jalen Naylor, Trent Sherfield, Brandon Powell, and Johnny Mund? Of course, running backs Ty Chandler, who's doing better than Aaron Jones.
This is why the Packers let him go. This is why he signed Brian Gutekunst signed Josh Jacobs. Josh Jacobs carried 30 times last week against the Colts for 151 yards.
Right. But I think this is where I think this will come into issue. The Texas defense under DeMeco Ryans, they've been actually playing. I feel like the first game against the Colts, it was, of course, pretty rough, knowing how to stop Jonathan Taylor because Jonathan Taylor ran over them. But against the Bears, less than 100 yards. The only big-time rusher was Caleb Williams for 44 yards. And then DeAndre Swift, God bless him. I think he wishes he was back in Philly. But I mean, like, honestly, if I'm the Texans, you got to continue running the ball with if I'm the Vikings offense, the best attack against the Texans defense, run the ball because and I think like having Ty Chandler, I would like to see him get a little bit more snaps than Aaron Jones, mainly on the inside. Kevin O'Connell will definitely have a game plan, but DeMeco Ryans, I think he has very good linebackers that could help him out. And by linebackers, I am looking at the monstrous trio of Aziz Al-Shaair, Jake Hansen, and Henry To'oTo'o. Oh, and don't forget, Will Anderson Jr. sir. Hello, nice to meet you.
He was insane against the Bears last week.
Yeah, and I honestly think if there's a weakness on Minnesota, it's that offensive line. I don't know which edge or which, mostly on the right side or the left side, but it depends upon who Will Anderson is going to be matching up against. And Will Anderson being a left defensive end, you most likely go up against right guard Brian O'Neill. That's his pigeon. Should go attack. And if Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison are there, I think honestly, I have the Texans saying like, okay, we can handle this because they've been doing a lot well with Derek Stingley Jr. and Kamari Lassiter. I think they can, and I think DeMeco Ryans, I could see him bring the house. I could see using a lot of pressure. Hey, if they're able to go up, if they're able to put 36 out of 37 pressures on Caleb Williams,
on Sam Darnold, yeah.
And Sam Darnold's not a mobile QB. And there's a game where he may be seeing ghosts. I think this is that game. And it's going to be a very tight game because this could be like one of those easy, we let this guy score. What the hell? And I say the Texans win this one 28-21. Okay. It will be a little bit of a tight game. Yeah. But the Texans will score when it matters the most. And it's going to be with the hands and the legs of CJ Stroud.
Okay. Legs of CJ Stroud. So it means he's going to get a rushing touchdown?
He's going to escape the pocket and throw a touchdown.
Okay.
And you know what? Game-winning touchdown to Stephon Diggs.
Okay. 2 TDs for Stephon Diggs, one being the game-winning. I like it. All righty. So that's going to be...
What do you think? I want to ask you. I want to get your score prediction on this one.
I think the Texans win as well. I just want to see how Sam Darnold is when he's not facing piss poor defense. Now, the Vikings or the Niners are not a piss poor defense, right? Fred Warner is a but that secondary was beatable, and we saw that, right? And this Vikings offensive line is actually a very good offensive line, something that the Bears can learn from. But I'm going to be interested in seeing just how much pressure that D'Amico Ryans and his defense can generate on Sam Darnold. Because if they can generate some significant, if they can get like 35 to 40% pressure rate on Sam Darnold, things can get spicy.
Oh, for sure. And for my prediction with the Ravens and Cowboys game, I had the Ravens winning this one 35-21. Derrick Henry is officially used. He runs up the middle and wrecks the defense. That piss poor defense, that is the Dallas Cowboys.
I can see that happening. Especially, yeah.
I have something to dish out as well.
Alrighty.
The curses are back, baby. I know. I love how the Niners are trying to struggle with this. How cute. Oh, look how the mighty have fallen. My first one, of course, goes to the Dallas Cowboys because we all have a special hatred for them.
Yes.
The second one goes to the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, really? Over the Niners?
No, Niners are already cursed.
Oh, okay. They're already cursed.
Ever since I cursed Deebo Samuel.
Yeah, that activates it.
Falcons are getting cursed. And last but not least, who should I put my curse on? Trying to think.
There's a certain team up in the north in Minnesota named the Vikings that you can put your curse on. That can help.
That can help. You know what? I'm gonna make a surprise change on this one. I am cursing the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ah, okay.
They're facing the Falcons, so double curse.
Double whammy.
Give us a tie game.
Yes. Oh, that would be hilarious. Alrighty. So that's going to be it for us today. If you guys have enjoyed, please leave us a review at one of the 4 podcast platforms that we host this podcast on: Apple, Google, Spotify, and Pocket Cast, or send us an email at nflmasala@gmail.com, spelled as NFL MASALA @gmail.com. Or Rakshak.
We're also on YouTube for season 3 only, which is NFL Masala. Just type it up, NFL MASALA. We're also on and you can also follow us on our social media platforms, Twitter /X and Instagram, with the same username at all lowercase at NFL MASALA 2022. That is at NFL MASALA 2022.
So now we're gonna hit you guys with our signature outro. Go Pack Go.
And fly, Eagles fly. Take care and have a good night. Deuces.